This is an M-rated game, so viewer discretion is advised. Root Film. As I've stated in previous videos, I have a love of detective games. I think two outstanding games in the genre are Phoenix Wright and Danganronpa. It's very easy to make a detective game boring, like the Jake Hunter game that I had as the worst game that I reviewed last year. And unfortunately this game has the same issues, but for much different reasons. This is a visual novel. They have you traveling from location to location, and sometimes the locations that you go really didn't have anything to do with the story. Sometimes you're just randomly meeting up with someone in a place. There are so many what I have to assume famous tourist spots that you visit. I was convinced that this game was underwritten by the Japanese Tourist Board. When this game isn't going to some random shrine or festival, there's a somewhat interesting story. It's broken down into two paths with two different characters, which eventually converge. One is about a director who's been tasked to figure out what happened to a TV series shoot 10 years ago. Why they would expect a director to become a detective, who knows? It was just expected that he would do it. Then there's another path which follows a woman who is an actress and a model, and her friend/agent. They also get tasked to solve a mystery. At least in this one, her trying to figure out this mystery is a little more plausible, as it was her friend's dad she was looking into the death of. The setups for both of these stories felt like a rejected pilot for the Hallmark Channel. If you've never seen that channel, they love teaming up a profession that has nothing to do with solving crimes and another person. I didn't find either of these stories entertaining, and it mostly had to do with the filler they added in. They would point out clues every time it came up. Sometimes there were quite a few clues you can come across. All these clues would be used against a suspect or a witness in a showdown. However, they only made you choose from a couple clues, and it was usually pretty obvious what to choose. Even if you get it wrong, you just try again, and all those loss of the points that you got will be reversed, and it acts like you didn't even lose them. The clues when they pop up are really the only thing that you need to pay attention to. So much so that I wanted to see if you could speed through a case and still finish it. So I took a case that usually would take 2 hours, and I did it in a little bit under 25 minutes. And I solved it, and I understood what the case was about. This game really needed to tighten up the conversations and the locations we went to. So much of it was unnecessary. The setups for the murders that you have to solve are trying to be clever and edgy, but they come off as stupid and sometimes just insane. I am going to spoil this one part of it, because one, the way this was set up was just nuts, and two, 99% of you will never play this game, so it doesn't matter. So here's the setup. There's a crossbow hidden in this room, loaded with a string that when cut would fire the bolt. How'd the string get cut? It didn't. It got burned off by the power of the sun. The killer took some ice, polished it to make it look like a magnifying glass, and put it up in a window. This has to be one of the stupidest ways to kill someone. What if the victim saw this elaborate crossbow string setup? And honestly, how could he not? And what if the sun didn't hit that very specific spot? And instead of this whole complicated setup, why not shoot this crossbow bolt through this open window with the person instead? It feels like they way overthought this. Now that's just one example. There's actually a couple more crazy murders, but I'm not going to do any more spoilers. It felt like the creators played Phoenix Wright and liked the idea of complicated murders, but all their ideas were either dragged out too much in dialogue or didn't make logical sense. They have you traveling to different spots on the map, and often it was a guessing game where to go to advance the story next. There was a part in the game where there was over 10 points of interest. I would have to click on one and interact with something, and then see it's not time for that scene, and go to another place. It was really tedious. Root Film had the potential to be a very interesting mystery story, but it was bogged down by a lot of side trips that were not necessary. When the plot finally does become more exciting later in the game, you're already going to be tired of the whole thing and you just want it to be over. The thing is, this is not a bad game, just a very poorly plotted one. Now, normally this is $40, and I would say just skip it. Even if you can find it on a really crazy sale for less than $5, there really isn't much here to enjoy. If they cut out a bunch of dialogue and locations and made a much tighter story, this could have been a really fun game. But they didn't, and that's unfortunate. So I would just skip it.